I once believed that space is mysterious since it is empty. It is even more horrible. It turns out that there are many more people capable of lying with such confidence. We were born in the Skeld, and not 3 seconds later, Blue was telling them all when he said, "All right, just so we are all straight, in the event of my death first, it is Red." Red just stopped walking. The literal meaning of this is that we just got into the game. "Exactly," Blue shot back. "No alibi yet." Yellow fell to laughing so that she ran into a wall. With a sound that betrayed a narration of his own highlight reel, Purple said, "Bold strategy." Black, who was at the same time saying nothing, said it, which to some extent made him immediately the most suspicious man on the ship. Naturally, we all split up. Since we do not keep our word no matter how many times we give them, we do. I chose to go to navigation, and Purple trailed. He would not stop talking. About vents, concerning stereotypes associated with common imposters, approximately why he is always voted out just because he is a vibe. I just went nodding, half listening, and most of the time just staring along the corridor behind us, waiting to see what might happen. "Loosen up, Purple," said, as he could read my mind. Assuming that someone was going to kill us, it would have been done by now. And of course, that was when the lights went out. "Okay," his voice was a bit less confident. "Bad timing." There was flickering of the emergency lights forming long, spooky shadows. We heard the voice of Red over the comms. "Hold fast, everybody, where you are." Yellow burst at once into a sprint. "I am not loitering somewhere in the dark," she screamed, and there is the beginning of a horror movie. Then, somewhere close at hand, there was a slamming door, then another one, and then complete silence. By the time that the main lights came on again, Purple had disappeared. There was no body, no report button lit up. He was just missing, as he foams at the mouth, quitting the world. I ran away and, as it were, threw myself on Blue, who was running away full as quickly in the opposite direction. "Did you hear that?" said he, puffing. "Hear what?" I replied, confused. "Exactly," he said, his eyes wide. "Nothing." We came across Yellow on the cafeteria, with his hand on top of a table, rudely waving a finger at Black. He hasn't said a single word. That is a typical imposter act. Black just crossed his arms. "I do not speak because you people push me out each time I speak." Red just sighed long and weary and summoned an emergency meeting. It was absolute chaos. Everybody began to speak simultaneously. The Yellow was theatrically restaging the disappearance of Purple, including the sound effects of her own. At this stage, primarily because of habit, Blue began accusing Red once more. Red charged Blue with being so much too true to what he was saying. I endeavored to give an explanation as to the time, the lights, the banging of the door, the complete silence, but nobody took any notice. There was no body. So, we skipped. Always, statistically speaking, the moment when things are soon to get a good deal worse. Then we settled on working in pairs. I stuck with Red. He was calm, maybe a little too calm. This rendered him the most secure individual on the ship, or the worst one. There was no in-between. I spotted it as we were walking past Medbay. The scanner was on, but there was no one inside. "Did you turn that on?" I asked him. Red just shook his head. The scanner beeped, once, twice, and then it stopped. We heard the voice of someone inside Medbay drifting out. It was Purple. "Guys, this is not funny anymore." I froze. Red made a fearful step. "Purple?" The medbay door slid open, and there he was. Purple. There he was, all right. Not a scratch on him. Not panicked at all. As a matter of fact, he was smiling as though nothing had ever occurred. "You have gone," I said, shaky in my voice. He just blinked. "No, I didn't. I was in here doing tasks." Blue rustled round behind us and came into view, almost without any warning. "Absolutely not. Nope. Now is not the day we are making multiverse nonsense." Then Yellow, closely behind him. "Why is Purple back? I had already worked my feelings over his disappearance." Then Black finally spoke. His voice was quiet, flat. "Something's wrong." And that's when we all heard it. something squeaky in the floor vent. It wasn't dramatic, it was just casual. We all looked down. Nothing came out. It was too loud, Purple said and laughed. You're all so paranoid. And at that very moment, Red fainted. He just dropped to the floor. No warning. No sound. Just gone. The room erupted. Screaming. Panic. Somebody pressed on the emergency button. This time, there was a body. Purple was defending himself as a professional. Blue began to lose his head, raving away. Yellow was altering her accusations in the middle of the sentence. And Black was simply watching everybody, his eyes following each and every movement. It is then that I observed something. Throughout the know-all, Purple never voted. The timer ran out. No ejection. The lights went out again. Someone whispered in the black right beside my ear. It was Purple. Really ought to have been listening. The lights came back on. Purple was gone, and Black was dead. There were no more jokes, no more accusations. Even the breathing of ourselves, loud, fast, very, very real. Yellow pointed at Blue. It's him! It has to be him! Blue merely shook his head in look of horrification. I have been the most vocal throughout the game. Imposters are quiet. We ran. All of us. They went through the sterile corridors to the flickering task panels upon which no one was working, beyond the vents which now seemed quite nearer than they had been. At this point, the alarm of the reactor began to sound, and Purple, waiting in the reactor room, was too. He was just standing there, clapping, slowly. Okay, he said with a grin. I believe it has been sufficient suspense to one day. He began to take a step forward, but paused. Due to this, the covering of a vent was pushed aside behind him. And here another thing came out. It was wearing Red's suit. Purple's smile vanished. That's not part of the game. The one in the red suit threw back his head. Neither were you. The alarms screamed louder. The lights flickered wildly. The entire ship was as though it were living, and most very unhappy. Blue grabbed my arm. There's more than one. In panic, Yellow banged her hand on the closest eject control panel. Something shot through the airlock. I don't even know who it was. And after all was still, there were only 3 of us. Me, Blue, Yellow. Blue broke the silence. So, who do we trust? Yellow looked at me. I looked at Blue. The ship was merely purring round us. One of the vent covers, somewhere down the hall, purred open. And that's when it hit me. The scariest part of all this? We are yet to complete our assignments. Whatever remains of this ship is likely to be laughing. Thanks for watching.